Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a celebration. As probably none of you know, one of my favorite games to play is Overwatch. Squeaky, don't headbutt the microphone. As probably none of you know, one of my favorite games to play is actually Overwatch. And just recently, in Season 17 of Competitive, I worked my way from high silver all the way up to low plat before settling into high gold, which for me was quite an achievement. So today, I wanted to celebrate that by drawing one of my favorite characters, and as you can tell on the screen, that's Tracer. She's probably up there between her and Widow as my favorite character in Overwatch. And as you can see from the footage in the background, there's some times where I'm good, and then some times where I'm not. But without waiting any longer, let's get into the video. So I didn't have the most time this week to film a video, so what I wanted to do in celebration was choose my favorite skin that Tracer has, which is her Mach skin that's reminiscent of a GT40. And for those of you that don't know, the GT40 is an old Ford sports car. So all I do is I start out with a simple pencil drawing that I did beforehand. I wanted to keep this one kind of simple, so I mostly used Copics and only used color pencil where I wanted to have a little bit more detail than normal. So after finishing up her face, I know I still gotta do the visor, but we'll get back to that later. One thing I wanted to do, because the skin has a lot of light colors, is I wanted to make sure to keep those light colors in the drawing. So I use a lot of light blue and light orange, layering darker colors on top of them to build up shadow as I go. Moving on to the rest of the body, I keep these light colors going throughout the piece. One thing that I used to make sure I kept detail, especially in the writing, was I used color pencil to outline it first before going back with the Copic marker, so that if I had any bleed, the color pencil would actually kind of stop it running through into the spaces I wanted to keep white, which helped me keep a lot of crisp lines in the drawing. And in the same fashion, when I wanted smaller writing, I used color pencil to write it out instead of Copic marker. One thing that was nice, since I was using a lot of bright colors in this drawing, when I did use darker colors, I thought it really helped make the darker tones stick out in the piece. When working on her lower torso, after I put down the Copic marker, there were a few areas that I wanted to go back and color pencil to brighten it up and add just a bit more contrast. Another thing I wanted to make sure stood out very clearly is the very light colors in the center of her jumping equipment. So what I did is I first put down the lighter blue that I didn't mind if it bled outwards, and then when I went to my darker colors, I was very careful not to let them overlap with my light blue or let them bleed into it either, so that I didn't have a muddling of my lights and my darks. So like I said, I didn't forget about it. The last thing I did was work on her mask. So first I actually drew and colored another copy of it on a separate piece of paper so that I could test out how I wanted to do it. Since I'm overlaying one set of colors on top of another, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out. And while I was testing this, one thing that occurred, when I was dragging the marker to lay down color, I would actually pick up some of the darker tones and darker Copic markers that had already been laid down, and it would smear a little bit, which you can see in the eyes. So one thing I learned to do when I was doing the final is instead of dragging the marker to lay down the color, I actually dabbed it instead. So if it did pick up any color, it wouldn't be taken as far from where it was originally put down, allowing me to keep the smearing to a minimum. The last thing I did after I colored the visor was use a dark black color pencil to color in the rest of her eyes so that they jumped out through the visor. So overall, I was really happy with this piece. I really liked that the highlights in this piece brought out the contrasting colors of the orange and the blue in her skin, and overall worked really well with each other. And to me, it was a great way to celebrate moving up that competitive ladder. And as always, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any suggestions that you want me to draw, leave it in the comments below. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Now go out there and make something.